there, this is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com. I'm the mom of 15. I've been homeschooling for over 3 decades, and today I want to share something with you that will add to your life. So go ahead and roast the chicken, wash the dishes, scrub the children, and listen as we dive in to the good life in Jesus. Okay, today I would like to start with something that I wrote probably to myself, maybe 38 years ago. And in the background, you'll probably hear some wind chimes. It's really blustery where I live today. But anyway, I'm going to try to read this to you. I hope it ministers to you. And it starts, "Come home, Mama. Won't you come home, dear Mommy? You've been living in Little House on the Freeway, and it's been frantic. You are exhausted, and your family walks around gaunt in spirit. You don't have a mansion, perhaps not even a house. Gather what is available to you and press it to your heart. It is the sacred place of your family. Allow your Creator to take each loaf and each fish at your disposal and multiply it, so that the meals, the spaces, the hours are full of nourishment for body and soul. Like the wise birds in David's psalm, build your abode ever in the presence of God." And this is from Psalm 84:3. "Even the sparrow has found a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may lay her young, even your altars, O Lord of hosts, my King and my God." Yes, you are too weak for such an enormous undertaking, but take heart. When you are weak, He is strong. Never lose heart. He has overcome the world. So that's the message for today. The message for today has a lot to do with homeschooling, because when we are homeschooling, by definition, we are at home. And something that has been on my mind for a long time is that in our current culture, we consider home more like a filling station on the freeway of life. All right. We stop there, we sleep there, we get a quick snack, and then we go on and do our thing. But when you're homeschooling, you realize that your home is really the center of your family life. It's where people come to get centered, right? And so when you homeschool, now that becomes even more important in the scheme of things, because if you don't have your home handled, it's going to affect how you learn with your children. And I found this over and over in my own life. I've heard it from other people, and I know that it's true, okay? So even though, we've been taught to put home on the last rung of all of our to-dos as modern women, actually, even today, making home one of your priorities is going to be your best blessing for your life, okay? Now, it's summer here right now, and where I'm talking to you, it's probably summer there unless you live in the Southern Hemisphere. In the summertime, we're usually, even if we school year round, we're not being really strict about things, right? The kids can go outside and play. So while they're doing all this outdoor play and enjoying each other and enjoying themselves, it's a good time to go ahead and take stock of your whole household, everything that goes on there, and make some changes and make some decisions for the better. Okay, it's best to do this actually before you start researching and buying your curriculum, because this will actually help center your mind, and as you get control of your house, it'll help you have more brain power then to concentrate on your plans for homeschooling, okay? Now, if your house is running smoothly, your learning will come easier, right? There are ways to do this, and I know there are wonderful videos we can watch online. I'm just gonna, after watching and living and everything, I'm gonna just give you a gist, an outline, and then you can go and you can do further research in all of these areas, okay? Ways to do this to bring your house in order is to build systems that rely on good habits so ingrained that they are done without thinking. Okay, so one of the examples of this is your children, when they wake up in the morning, they just automatically make their bed as they get out of it. Now, before you can do that, you have to simplify their bedding. You know, you can, for boys especially, they love just having a bottom sheet and like a sleeping bag or a big quilt. And that's so easy. So in the morning, all they have to do is they just roll that quilt up at the bottom of their bed, they brush off their sheet, they fluff their pillow, and they're done. And so that can be just part of their psyche, like every morning, I'm just gonna do this, bam, I'm done. And then the next thing you could do is like, after this, I go wash my face and brush my teeth, done. Then I change my clothes for the day, done. And you get everybody into this habit from the time they're tiny. You can teach them. Even tiny children, 3 and 4 years old, can roll that quilt up and fluff their pillow and brush their teeth and wash their face and change their clothes. You can just make it part of what they do, just kind of like, you know, I've used index cards in different colors so they know. It's like when you stop at a stoplight, you can be, first we have yellow, we start slowly, we do our bed, then red, and then green. You can do all kinds of different things. You know, you can think of a system to do that with. Okay, now here's another thing you can do. Only keep the best of everything. If you look behind me, you'll see that I'm not a strict minimalist. I have a lot of stuff in my house. But one thing I try to do is I try only to keep the best things. And I have to go through these dishes. I know there are a few things that I'm not in love with. Periodically I go through and I'll pare things down. It's okay to have things as long as you're keeping only the best. Get rid of the trash. Get rid of the things that, as Marie Kondo would say, don't spark joy in you. I don't know if I understand that completely, but you know, it makes sense. If it's not adding to your life, it's subtracting from your life. If there's a big clunky piece of furniture and it's kind of ugly, but you keep like, well, I can't give it away, I don't know what to do with it, you know, just get rid of it. It's in your way, it's bothering you. And if it's books that you bought, oh, here's a homeschool story I'll tell you. So there was we're learning to read game. It was touted, it was in all the commercials, it was in all the magazines, and I had kids that were struggling with reading many years ago, and I thought it was like $180. So like I begged people, like a relative, and they bought it for me, and we brought it home and we played with it like 3 times, and it really wasn't any help, and so I ended up giving it away. But I kept that thing stacked in my closet for 20 years because I couldn't give it away. It was like, I paid $180 for this, or someone else did, you know, and I just couldn't give it away. Finally, I had the guts to get rid of it. Okay, but only keep the best. It was taking up space. It was kind of getting messed up because everything was stacked. I mean, it was a mess, right? Okay, here is another way. Center chores and home maintenance around 4 anchors, okay? So when you're home all day, this is another thing that I hear from a lot of people. When you're home all day, it's not like you get up in the morning, you clean the house, you leave, and it stays that clean until you get home, right? You're living in your house all day long. You're gonna have times when you're just gonna be making a mess. And it's part of the process of raising children. It's part of the process of learning together. And it's perfectly okay. It's to be expected. In fact, if you're not planning for messes, then you're not living. So what you have to do is you anchor times when you're tidying up the house throughout the day. Like in the morning, it might be your major chore time, right? Like after you've had little time, little kids snuggle and you read to them, what have you, then you got a major chore time for an hour or 2, right? So then you're like tackling big things. You're not tackling big things at this time. You're doing the maintenance chores. You're making sure that the laundry is started and the porches are swept and, you know, all those, and you know, all that kind of stuff. You're starting loads of laundry. Did I say that? And so you're doing those, and if you attach them, like here's morning chores at noontime, this is what we do, and you have certain chores at noon and certain chores in the evening, like after dinner. There's certain things that you do to prepare for the next day. And if you do that, if you have these routines, it seems like that your house is kind of running on railroad tracks, and it just like, we do this, we do this, we do this. Okay, and that worked for me for many years. It's always worked for me. Okay, practice having everything in place the night before. Oh my goodness, this will save you so much anxiety and stress in your life. If the night before, you can make sure there's no dirty dishes in the kitchen for you to clean, for you to look at it in the next morning. You know, who likes to wake up to like the soaking pan, with all the crap in it. No, not me. So if you can make sure you get that done the night before. Also, I always lay out my clothes the night before, right? So when I wake up, and I don't have to like wake up abruptly. I can just kind of saunter about. I know that I've got this. I know I've got my bag, my personal hygiene bag. I showed it in one of my videos where I have everything that I will need to get ready in that little bag, so that I'm not searching around and digging through and everything. And I have a routine in my bag. I have a way that, okay, I do this first, do this second, do this third, and I just run through my bag and just do those things. So I mean, I can be thinking about the day. I'd be thinking about anything because it's just so automatic. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for ways that we can automate our lives on the details, so that we have more room in our lives for the big things like a craft project, or a trip to the park, or whatever we want to do. We can do those things without anxiety because we know that we've got everything going smoothly and in place in the other parts of our lives, right? And in the summertime, you can like try out different things and see if they work or not without having a lot of risk, because usually we're pretty lax. There's not a lot of extracurriculars are scheduled in the summertime. It's pretty easy going. So if you can practice these systems while you're relaxed in the summertime, then when it comes time, then you'll have time to plan too, more time to plan in your life. And then when you actually start in earnest again, then you've got these railroad tracks that everything is running on, and so that you can put all these systems in place, and they really help. And I've gleaned a lot of interesting things from a lot of different people, and I'll try to link below all the different ideas that I've been learning about, and also reinforcing things that I've already been doing in my life for years. Okay, with 15 kids, I have been accused of being very organized. The truth is that I'm very distracted. And so I have to nail myself down so that I will think of one thing at a time. My daughter, she's just like me, and one of my daughters, and she was talking about how her husband gets so aggravated watching her clean anything, because she kind of does it in circles, you know, like she'll clean this, then she'll get distracted over here, and then this attached to this, and then, see, I'm like that too. So we have to really force ourselves to do one thing at a time, okay? Now, on keeping meals simple, this is an important part too, okay? Use your Instapot. I mean, it is so amazing, right? That way you can have something, like I use it as a crock pot, and then lots of times I'll use it as the other function of the of the pressure cooker. I'll do that too. But the thing is when you wake up in the morning, then in your morning chore time, you can throw things in to have them done by dinner. And so the morning you're prepping for your evening meal. Because if you're like me, you start off and things are pretty tight, but as the day goes on, they kind of expand and get looser and looser and looser. By the time dinner is like, everything's crazy, right? So if you can have a plan in place in the morning for your dinner, it turns out a lot better. Okay, you can do a lot of one-pot meals. Make meals as simple but as delicious as you can. It's okay to add in little nuances and special things, but if you keep your meals as simple as possible, that affects almost every other area of food, right? So you don't have to shop for crazy things. You're just going to stick to your list, right? You fill your pantry, fill your freezer with things you know you're going to use, right? It saves you money. It saves you time. It saves decision fatigue. It saves that. Okay. Also, do some lunch boxes. In the morning, 2 things that you can do that will save the rest of your day. Number 1 is prep for your dinner, right? Number 2 is do some lunch boxes or something like that. I have on my blog at momdelights.com, I have a post on making lunch boxes. It's one of my most popular blog posts on how we take, and I'm doing this even today, you take, you get one of those divided lunch box things, and you put in you can put some leftovers in there. You can put a hot dog in there that they can take and heat up in the microwave, what have you. Or you can just put a sandwich and some little treats in there, and you can put for each child, label it, stick it in your refrigerator, and then as your morning wears on, when you're doing your fun things, or if you decide to go out and do something, you grab your lunch boxes, you take them with you. They're already done. You don't have to scramble for lunch. So it's a real time saver, and also it keeps down the interruption that lunch normally, like you have to get things out and you have to make them, and then you have to clean, you have to put away, you have to sweep, you know, all that kind of stuff. If you have your lunch boxes, And as your kids age, they can be in charge of even washing their own lunchbox out. Yeah, for a win. That's what you can do. Okay, now here's some other ideas. Tackle one 15-minute extra cleaning or decluttering job a day. So in your chore, whether it's like in the late afternoon when your kids are playing or whenever it is, like do at least one 15-minute extra chore a day. Like let's say, well, I've got a bookshelf with all kinds of books stacked on it. And so what I can do for 15 minutes is I can just go over there and sort through it, and maybe all I'll do in 15 minutes is just take the books out that don't belong. I need to put somewhere else. Okay, so that's 15 minutes I can do. And I don't have to do it all the way, just enough to where I've, taken care of something, right? Like for 15 minutes, you can go down, you can empty the tub in your washing machine and clean out the filter. I know a lot of us have that type of washing machine, and you can do that in 15 minutes. That's one thing off of your list, a maintenance thing. You can change the filter on your furnace at the same time. So now you've got 2 maintenance things that you've done. And if you think about that in just a 15-minute interval every day, you're going to start keeping on top of things and feeling really good, okay? Tidy the house after lunch. After lunch every day, get the house clean, and then everybody goes to quiet time. And if you schedule in a quiet time for your whole house for an hour or 2 every day, it will do amazing things. I can remember my husband used to work from home, and he would have people come in and take tests. They were ministers, and they'd have to take a test of theological understanding, okay? So they would come into our house, and we would always schedule them to come in during the quiet time in our house. So they would come and they would sit at our dining room table, and they would take this test, and they could not believe there were that many children in our house. Of course, we never had 15 children at the same time in our house because people grew up and moved away, but there were always like a whole bunch, right? And they'd say, "Are you sure you have that many kids?" Because it was during our quiet time, and we had shut down our house and made it quiet. So that's a good thing to do every day. That's time, believe it or not, you shouldn't be on the internet or anything. You should be resting, reading the word, refreshing yourself so that you can be fresh for the rest of the day, especially if your husband works a regular daytime job, and when he comes home, then you're not all draggy and naggy. You can actually give him some attention too. Okay, now also, that I was talking about when Dad comes home, it's good to have a quick 10-minute tidy up, or whatever you want to call it. I forgot what we used to call it, but we used to clean it real quick before we knew Daddy was coming home. We just like do a quick vacuum and pick up, so that when he came in, he didn't come into pandemonium, right? Okay. Also, if you pay attention to your kids before Dad comes home, and like sit him down and read a story or something before he comes home, they're not going to be climbing all over him, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." All right. So anyway, create a simple, efficient nighttime routine. And we talked about, laying your clothes out. But with kids, you have to kind of get them in the rhythm, right? And it helps them to kind of wind down for bed. One of the things you can do is start getting ready for bed 2 hours before you want to go to sleep. And that goes for kids and for parents. So maybe at 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock. It depends on when your bedtime for your kids is. You want to have your kids do the bathing then. Instead of waiting, "Oh, it's time to go to bed. Oh, you guys have to get in the bathtub." Then, if your goal was to get them asleep by 9 and you start at 9, you're not going to get them to sleep until 10. Let's be realistic, right? So if you start 2 hours before you're going to get them actually to sleep, and you allow them to get in this rhythm of it's time to go to sleep, right? And you get the stories read. And also, here's something really sweet that I have done with my children is sing them a song or a group of songs that have a group of songs that they can choose from that you sing to them before sleep. Now, maybe you've got a really horrible voice and you can't keep a tune in the bucket. They're not going to care. What they care about is it's just sharing your heart with them, just sharing a sweet song. There's one in particular that our kids have loved, and they sing it to their kids, okay? Okay, also set out your clothes. Set out breakfast for the next day if you can, right? Run your dishwasher during the night so that in the morning you wake up and you got clean dishes. Okay, and also before you go to sleep, do an emotional purge. This has been suggested when I read Norman Vincent Peale's something, I forgot what it's called. The power of positive thinking, that's what it is. Now, I don't agree with everything he says, but you know, you can glean godly things from all kinds of well-meaning Christian people, right? So what he suggests is when you go to sleep at night, purge yourself emotionally from your day, right? Go through your day, think about all the things that happened, and you know, if there's mistakes you made, ask God for forgiveness for your mistakes. If there's someone, if you were aggravated by your kids or your husband or a neighbor or anything, ask God to help you forgive them, and don't let that resentment sit in your heart and your mind. And have this habit of purging yourself of the stresses from your day, all these types of things, and then roll your cares over on the Lord. That's from Psalm 37, and also in Philippians, we find Philippians 4, 6, and 7. It talks about having no care for anything, but casting your cares on God. It's the same idea. And thank Him for His grace and His provision in your day. Just have a time of thankfulness before Him where you're thanking Him for all those things. And that will put you to bed and help you to have sweet, sweet dreams. And then when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be totally fresh. You're not carrying anything from the previous day. Your kitchen's clean. You know what you're going to wear. You don't have to think about that. You know you have a routine to get ready. Your kids have a routine to get ready. So that by the time you're ready to start into learning, you have so much in place and you're going to feel so good. Now, there are going to be times when your situation changes and you have to readapt everything. And it'll be worth taking a week or two to do that. Trust me, because living this way is going to give you so much peace and you're going to be so much happier than you are right now. I guarantee. So I hope this has blessed you, and I hope that you can start putting these things in place so that you can feel powerful over the plans of the devil for destruction. You know, I like to describe homework, homekeeping, housekeeping as constantly fighting the chaos of the devil. And so that's what I figure I'm doing every day. So please like and subscribe and click stars and bells and all those kinds of things. And you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.